So you played at Wisconsin. You played under Bo Ryan. Bo Ryan is actually someone that I interviewed at Big Ten Media Days when I was in college, like many years ago.
Okay.
And I was intimidated. I was really, really intimidated. And then, you know, it's sort of like you just start asking him basketball questions and he'll answer. He also knows that we're like the student newspaper guys. So,
Yeah.
you know, but what was it like to play under him?
Bo was a very old school minded coach. Very old school minded in the sense where we didn't really have a relationship with him. It was kind of strictly business in terms of like on the court product, like you're performing, There wasn't really much talking outside of it.
Huh.
You know, you see guys like, you know, Tom Izzo and all these guys who have relationship with their players. That wasn't really the case with us. For me, it was tough. You know, I was recruited by Coach Howard Moore. You know, he was pretty much one of the main reasons why I decided to go to Wisconsin. I developed a relationship with him.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously Big Ten, being close to home, playing on a national stage was very appealing to me. But again, at my age, whatever it was, 17, 18 years old I was 17 when I signed to go to Wisconsin. I thought big picture. You know, my mom always kind of stressed, you don't know what's going to happen. Go somewhere where you can get an education and prepare yourself long term. Because I didn't know how far basketball could take me.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I dreamed of, you know, NBA and all that stuff, but you never know. God forbid, injuries, whatever the case may be, you want to have a backup plan. And I felt like Wisconsin was a very respected school. You could get a really good education, but basketball wise was really good. The other thing too was the whole swing offense that they had at the time, you know, where they kind of took advantage of mismatches, played a little bit of inside outside. And I was like, it's literally perfect for me. Like 6'8", 6'9", I can play inside, play outside, like perfect. Signed, went there, and it was like a big wake up call in terms of, I think now it's a little bit different, but back then a lot of kids get a culture shock because, you know, you come from your high school, your area where you're the best player by far, you know, everybody's patting you on the back saying, hey, great job, whatever. You come there, well, you're surrounded by guys that were the best players on their team, best players in their area, and now you have to compete. You know, for me, I really didn't get a chance to play until my junior year. And
it's a lot of time.
Yeah, it was tough. I mean, it was a lot of long days, long seasons, sitting on the bench, contemplating. I'm like, do I really want to stay here? Should I go somewhere else? Whatever the case may be. Because at the end of the day, when you make a commitment to go, you go to play. Like, you don't go to sit. And so finally my junior year, I got an opportunity to play. I'm like, okay, cool.
Wait a minute, stop a second. Why did you wait? I know it's different now where guys can transfer left and right, but why did you wait?
I think it was a combo of two things. I think I put a lot of blame on myself in the sense that like, oh, I could have done things better, or I could have played better. Looking back at it, could I have transferred my sophomore year and probably gone and played? Yeah. Should I have? I don't know. That's like the question. Like nowadays, people ask me like, you know, are you happy with, you know, your decision to go to Wisconsin? Absolutely. Because I think not just do I have 2 Final Fours to show for, but I think the experiences that I went through with Coach Ryan, whether it was, you know, my playing just very inconsistent and just not playing my first 3 years, it taught me a lot about life, but also about becoming a man, and also about having a boss that might not give a shit about you for a while, you know? And so it prepared me for coaches that I had now playing professionally. And it was kind of the sense where I was prepared for whatever, you know? And I think for me, looking back on it, could I have left after my junior year? I thought about it. I thought about leaving. But I think for me, at the end of the day, the biggest thing was I knew I was going to be a big piece of that team. They wouldn't have been as good if I left, but the other thing too was I'm like, we have a chance to do something special.
Totally. That team was stacked.
Yeah, I'm like, we have a chance to do something special. I love these guys. I can't do it. And I think that's one thing that I can really honestly say what made that team so special is just the bond that we had. We genuinely loved each other. We loved to be around each other. Like when we weren't on the court competing against each other, we were at our apartments playing video games, hanging out, movie nights, whatever the case may be. We were just together. I think Andy North gave a perfect example. They did a documentary kind of about our story of our Final Four run. And he said it perfectly. He's like, the people who got the short end of the stick were the girlfriends. Because a lot of the time, they didn't get to see us because we'd spend so much time together where it'd be like, okay, where do I fall in? You know? But we just like loved hanging out with each other, spending time with each other, and it translated onto the court. And that's like a main reason why we had the success that we did.
Sam Decker.
Yep.
Frank Kaminsky.
Yep.
Nigel Hayes.
Yep.
Bronson was there too. Yep. Who am I missing? There's a few others.
Ethan Happ was a freshman.
Ethan Happ was there. Yep.
Vito Brown.
I mean, these are good Big Ten players and good NBA players and good European players now.
For sure.
Really good European players.
For sure.
Who was the funniest of the bunch?
We really had some personalities, man. Frank was up there. Nigel was up there. Bronson. I think everybody kind of had their moments, and that's what
Decker
made
was
it.
good on Twitter.
Sam lived for social media. Sam loves social media, like loves it. He was one that a lot of times when we would get in arguments in the locker room, it was like, oh, let me go to Twitter. Like, let's ask Twitter. I'm like, come on, Sam. Like, because a lot of times, like, we had lockers next to each other. So not only were we like competing against each other, but like we would have arguments. So then he's like, okay, let's go to Twitter. I'm like, Sam, you have 20,000 followers. I have 2. Who the fuck are they going to side with?
Totally.
Come on, man. So, but I think our dynamic, credit to him, because it could have been a lot of bad blood, a lot of animosity when you're competing with a guy. Because at the end of the day, for the two of us, it ended up being like a revolving door in terms of when Sam fucked up, I'm up. When I fucked up, he's up. Great example. We were in the Bahamas for the Battle of Atlantis championship game. Coach Ryan has this thing where he would always sit down for the tip. As soon as it tips off, he stands up. We all have to stay standing, and then we sit and kind of sit accordingly. So there's not like a seat open. Like Coach Ryan stands the whole game. He never sits.
Yeah.
But he sits for like the tip. We're all standing, and then we go. So tip off, Sam, we get the ball. Sam makes a bad pass. I'm looking to my chair to sit down, and all I hear is, Dewey, get him the fuck out of there. I don't even sit down. I go.
Yeah.
And so I ended up playing, I think, 30 minutes that game. It was against Oklahoma in the championship game. One of my better games in my career.
Who was on that Oklahoma team?
Buddy Hield.
I had a feeling. Yep.
Buddy Hield was Ryan Spangler, Isaiah Cousins. Who else did they have?
I had a feeling Buddy was on that team because I feel like I remember seeing that game.
Yeah. And so it was funny because Tony Kukoc texted my mom after the game and he goes, did Dewey really start? And my mom's like, no, he just subbed in super quick. And like, that's literally the epitome of how it was for me and Sam. Like, it was just as soon as one of us made a mistake, boom, the other one's coming in.
But how did it not get because it can, how did it not get personal between you guys?
Because I think at the end of the day, like we knew it wasn't one of our faults. It was just how Coach Ryan was. And that's just kind of you have to adapt to it. I think the most frustrating part for us, or for me at least, is that other guys had a longer leash than I did. And so, for me, I think the toughest thing to do is to play scared. Because when you're afraid of making a mistake, what ends up happening? You make a mistake.
Of course.
So once I kind of broke through that idea of who cares if you fuck up, just play, that's when I started to really like play and like come into my own. But before that whole, when it started like Sam in, me out, me in, Sam out, like it was tough not to think, what am I doing? Okay, don't turn it over. Don't take a bad shot. You play scared. And so a lot of times, you know, you'd be out there, you'd get a rebound in 4 minutes, you don't put up a shot, you don't want to do anything wrong. And then you go back to the bench, you're like, okay, no mistakes, we're good. But at the end of the day, you look at your stats, and it's like, you did nothing, you know? It's like, what did you do to help the team win? Mm-hmm. And so finally, I'm like, okay, I need to break out of this. I'm not helping myself, and I'm not helping the team. Like, this is not beneficial to anybody. And once I was able to do that, it took my game to the next level, and it also helped the team.
So, Coach Ryan, what is he doing now?
I think he's in Palm Springs, golfing.
Good for him.
Yes,
good for him.
We saw him at the we had in November. They had like a 10-year anniversary for our Final Four runs, and they did a little segment for him at halftime because he got honored at the Hall of Fame. And so we like ran into him, and I think he's in Palm Springs. I haven't spoken to him since I graduated, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So, I think he's living in Palm Springs, golfing. I don't know if he spends as much time or at any time in Madison. I know he comes back sometimes, but I think most of his time he's in Palm Springs just hanging out.
Bless him, man.